McLean in the spacesuit with the red stripes, now in the crew lock portion of the International Space Station. This will be her third spacewalk of her career. Next up to join her in the crew lock will be NASA astronaut Nicole Ayers, preparing for her very first spacewalk of her career. Today's spacewalk will be the 275th in support of space station maintenance, assembly, and upgrades. Primary tasks today are to install a modification kit ahead of future power solar array upgrades for the International Space Station, as well as relocate a communications antenna for visiting vehicles or spacecraft to the International Space Station. And now coming into your view, you see the SAFER again. That's that simplified aid for EVA rescue. NASA astronaut Johnny Kim and JAXA astronaut Takoya Onishi are going to work to install that on Nicole Ayers. That SAFER is worn as a precautionary measure in the unlikely event that a crew member should become untethered from the International Space Station. The SAFER is essentially a jetpack that would allow them to get back to the International Space Station to retether themselves. And we are in a brief handover period between our satellites, but do expect to gain communication and view with the crew again here shortly. Here in the room, the team of Orbit 2 flight controllers are being led by NASA Flight Director Deanna Trujillo. She just completed a poll of the flight controllers here in the room for a go, no-go for depressurization. Everything looking good and on track for today's spacewalk, the 275th in support of space station maintenance, assembly, and upgrades. The main tasks of today's spacewalk are to install a modification kit in preparation for ongoing solar array upgrades.
Good, no changes.
We copy all. Thank you.
Additionally, today's spacewalkers will relocate a communications antenna for visiting spacecraft to the orbiting lab. There you do see on your screen the boom or communications for visiting vehicle antenna and the relocation process that is going to take place. It's going to be moved about 1.5 feet, which will allow better redundancy for spacecraft as they visit the International Space Station. And also here on your screen is a depiction of the mounting bracket that will be built by NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nicole Ayers during today's spacewalk before it is installed on the mass canister. All of this work is done in anticipation of a future spacewalk to install an ISS rollout solar array, or IROSA, on the 2A power channel of the International Space Station there in yellow. Previously, we have completed solar array upgrades on 4 of the other power channels, so we just have 2 more remaining at this time. And if you are just joining us this morning, we're continuing to bring you live coverage of a spacewalk outside the International Space Station to install a mounting bracket ahead of upcoming solar array installation. Today's spacewalkers are NASA astronaut Anne McClain, who will be wearing the spacesuit with the red stripes, as well as Nicole Ayers, who will be wearing the unmarked spacesuit. This will be the 3rd spacewalk for McClain and the very first for Ayers. Today's spacewalk will be the 275th in support of space station maintenance, assembly, and upgrades, and it will be the 3rd spacewalk of the year, but the very first for Expedition 73. Here on the ground, there is a team supporting our spacewalking duo being led by Flight Director Deanna Trujillo. At this time, McClain and Ayers are suited up in their spacesuits and are preparing for depressurization here shortly. We are in a brief handover period between our satellites, but we'll get views again of the crew here shortly. And if you're just joining us, we're continuing to bring you live coverage of today's spacewalk, the 275th, in support of space station maintenance, assembly, and upgrades. We are in a handover period between our satellites, but we do expect to gain communications with the crew here in a little less than 8 minutes. So let's take a look at some of the tasks for today's spacewalk.
Our day will start with astronaut Anne McLean as EV1 in the red stripes and Nicole Ayers as EV2. Nicole will carry an 8-foot-long strut bag and Anne will carry the tool bag. Both crew members will translate to the port side of the International Space Station, heading to the work site of the Modification Kit Structure or MOD Kit. At that location, they will secure their two bags and begin the installation activity. Nicole will start the modification activity by removing the strut out of the bag to assemble the upper triangle. The upper triangle consists of two struts and a mounting bracket. Nicole will then hand the triangle to Anne, who will install it on the mass canister of the Beta Gimbal Assembly, or BGA structure. The crew will then proceed with the installation of the right lower strut and the right mid strut on the right side of the mast canister. After that, the crew will move to the left side of the mast canister to perform the same order of operations, beginning with the left lower strut, followed by the left mid strut. Once all the struts are installed, the crew will cover both mid-struts with multi-layer insulation or MLI and route the cables of the roll-out solar array in support of future spacewalks. This step concludes the MOD Kit installation. The next stop is the relocation of the Common Communications for Visiting Vehicle boom, or C2B2. The crew will begin by translating to the worksite located on the P3 truss segment of the integrated truss structure, also on the port side of the vehicle. The crew will start by removing the C2B2 boom from the base, attaching an extension to the base, and installing the boom at the end of the extension. This action shifts the antenna boom by 1.5 feet, clearing the antennas from structural blockage. These steps conclude the relocation of the C2B2 boom. Finally, Nicole translates back to the P4 location to pick up the tool bag, while Anne starts her translation back to the airlock. Shortly after, Nicole begins her
Et on se retrouve sur BFM2. Merci d'être avec nous en ce jeudi 1er mai. On prend tout de suite la direction de la Loire-Atlantique, rejoindre notre reporter bfmtv.com Robin de BFM, Robin Berdeau. Merci d'être avec nous. Une jeune femme de 24 ans a décidé de racheter un camping.
Exactement, bonjour Brigitte, bonjour à tous, je suis ici à Villeneuve-en-Ré, on est à 40 minutes de Nantes, on est à 40 minutes de Noirmoutier, 10 minutes de Pornic et si on regarde bien juste au bout là-bas, on a l'océan Atlantique, mais c'est une belle histoire qu'on veut vous raconter aujourd'hui, c'est l'histoire de Léa. Bonjour Léa.
Bonjour Robin.
À 24 ans, tu rachètes un camping, j'ai vu ça sur TikTok, c'est quoi cette histoire ?
Alors, c'est une histoire familiale de base. Moi, j'ai rencontré mon copain il y a 5 ans, dont les parents sont les propriétaires de ce merveilleux camping. Et depuis 3 ans, on travaille, Tristan, mon copain et moi, pour racheter ce camping, pour succéder à ses parents et que l'entreprise reste familiale.
À 24 ans, gérer un camping, c'est pas forcément évident parce qu'on se lance dans la vie active. Ça a été quoi les réactions autour de toi quand on a parlé?
Alors, quand j'en ai parlé, ça a été assez mitigé parce qu'en plus de ça, moi, j'avais commencé un master. Et au bout de 2 mois, j'ai décidé d'abandonner mon master. Je me suis dit, j'ai envie de rejoindre Tristan qui, lui, était déjà au camping. Et j'ai tout lâché. Mes proches, au début, avaient un peu d'appréhension. Mais finalement, ils voient que c'est un travail dans lequel je m'épanouis. Et donc ils sont contents pour moi. Ouais.
Et justement, moi, ça m'a intrigué cette vie au camping parce qu'on a l'habitude d'aller au camping, on vient dans les bungalows, tout se passe bien. Moi, je voulais comprendre un peu le côté coulisses, donc je t'ai suivi tout au long de la matinée. Ça va très vite, faut être très organisé. C'est quand même des matinées et des journées bien remplies.
Ah, c'est des journées qui sont bien remplies. On fait 1000 choses dans la journée, 1000 choses différentes. Et d'une journée à l'autre, c'est jamais la même chose. Évidemment, on accueille toujours les clients de la même façon avec le sourire. Mais sinon, on a des choses, des imprévus tous les jours qui arrivent. Et donc, il faut être préparé à tout quand on passe une journée au camping, quoi.
Et alors, il y a une règle quand on arrive ici au camping et je l'ai découverte ce matin, tout le monde se tutoie. C'est pour ça que je me permets de te tutoyer d'ailleurs. Donc j'ai découvert voilà un petit peu ton quotidien, pardon. Et aussi, surtout, je t'ai découvert via les réseaux sociaux parce que ton quotidien, tu partages ça notamment sur TikTok. Le compte Les Chaînes Verts, il y a plus de 120 000 abonnés, 127 000. Il y a le compteur à l'accueil qui tourne, beaucoup d'abonnés chaque jour. C'était important aussi de partager ce quotidien sur les réseaux sociaux.
Pour nous, c'était hyper important de partager notre quotidien sur les réseaux parce qu'on a eu déjà une expérience à la télé il y a 3 ans de cela. Et il y avait des clients qui faisaient des fois 6 heures de route pour venir nous voir, venir voir si on était les mêmes qu'à la télé. Et ce qui était sympa aussi pour nous, c'est d'expliquer notre aventure, parce qu'on rachète un camping, on est jeune, on rachète l'entreprise familiale, donc c'était de montrer à tout le monde comment est-ce que deux personnes de 24 ans succèdent à leurs parents, comment est-ce qu'on rachète une entreprise familiale. Et on s'est dit que notre expérience, c'était une jolie expérience à partager avec des personnes du monde entier. Donc on s'est lancé sur les réseaux et ça marche plutôt bien, effectivement. Ouais.
C'est ça, et surtout beaucoup de retombées positives parce que maintenant les gens qui voient sur les réseaux avec ton chéri viennent aussi au camping et c'est une part importante du nombre de clients.
Exactement, là on faisait le compte à peu près sur le mois d'avril de cette année, un client sur 2, une réservation sur 2 était due aux réseaux sociaux, donc c'est énorme et on est à peu près à 10% de réservations grâce aux réseaux sociaux. Donc on peut se dire que sans les réseaux sociaux, on n'aurait peut-être pas ces 10% de réservations qu'on a aujourd'hui en plus, donc c'est un plus qu'on ne regrette pas, quoi. On adore être sur les réseaux.
Voilà Brigitte, je vous invite à aller voir ce compte Les Chaînes Verts si vous voulez sur TikTok, quasiment 130 000 abonnés.
Une très belle réussite, hein. Bravo à vous Léa. Et justement, en ce jeudi 1er mai, est-ce qu'on peut s'attendre à beaucoup de monde? Comment ça se passe pour ce week-end prolongé? Dites-nous.
Eh ben, écoutez, on a du soleil sur les 3 quarts du pays. On a de la chance. On voyait en Bretagne, il y avait un petit peu de nuages, un petit peu de pluie. Ce matin, c'était couvert. Ça semble se découvrir. Comment ça se passe au niveau des réservations pour ce premier week-end des ponts du mois de mai? Il y aura le week-end prochain aussi. Ouais. Comment ça se passe, sachant qu'on a des températures quasiment dignes d'un mois de juillet en ce moment?
Carrément, on a de très belles températures et du coup, ça a boosté toutes nos réservations. Début de semaine, on a eu plus d'une vingtaine de réservations. Là, ça continue de jour en jour. Et effectivement, vous le voyez, il fait très beau. J'ai une petite veste, mais je pourrais carrément l'enlever tellement il fait bon. Donc non, c'est très agréable. Les réservations vont bon train. Il nous reste encore quelques places. Donc si vous êtes intéressés, n'hésitez pas à venir au camping Les Chaînes Verts.
Merci beaucoup Léa Dan de m'avoir accueilli ce matin, de m'avoir fait partager, de m'avoir fait découvrir un petit peu ce quotidien. On a le reportage qui va sortir très bientôt. Okay. Je vous laisse parce que je crois que c'est l'heure du déjeuner.
Exactement. Oui, il faut qu'on aille manger aussi.
Et moi je vais vous quitter avec quelques images si vous voulez Brigitte. Je vais un peu me balader dans le camping pour vous partager ces images parce qu'on pense quand même aux personnes qui travaillent ce 1er mai. Il y en a quelques-unes, notamment ici par exemple au camping. Et c'est vrai que tout le monde en profite ici de ce beau temps, de ce soleil. Là il faut vraiment imaginer au bout de l'allée, vous avez l'océan qui nous attend. Alors un petit peu frais, hein. J'ai tenté hier après-midi pour être honnête avec vous, mais c'est un beau week-end qui s'annonce et forcément pour les professionnels de l'hôtellerie, ça va être un week-end très important qui lance un petit peu la saison aussi estivale avec ces températures dignes d'un mois de juillet.
Et oui, beaucoup de Français qui travaillent, dont BFM2 pour vous offrir des directs de ce genre. Alors merci à vous, Robin Bernot, Robin de BFM pour ces belles images, reporter bfmtv.com. On se retrouve évidemment avec vos productions sur le site BFM TV, également sur les réseaux sociaux. Et pour découvrir le quotidien de Léa, ça se passe donc sur les chaînes verts. On a bien retenu la leçon, profitez du soleil. On se retrouve très vite sur BFM2.
At this time, both McLean and Ayres are in the crew lock portion of the International Space Station. And as Onishi and Kim continue to step through procedures ahead of depressurization, the crew is about 25 minutes down on the timeline today, so we are expecting the spacewalk to begin around 7:40 a.m. Central Time this morning. We mark the beginning of the spacewalk from the time that the spacesuits are switched on internal battery power. And we are seeing Onishi prepare to close the hatch. Some waves goodbye. See you soon, more like it. Kim and Onishi are continuing to work to get the hatch closed today. Following this, McLean and Ayres, who are in the crew lock portion of the International Space Station, will complete some communications checks before getting the go for depressurization. Inside the crew lock, the pressure is about 14.4 pounds per square inch. That eventually needs to get down to vacuum before the hatch outside the International Space Station can be opened and the crew can float out to begin their spacewalk. We are anticipating today's spacewalk to begin around 7:40 a.m. Central Time this morning and last approximately 6.5 hours. The main tasks for today's spacewalk are to install a modification kit in preparation for ongoing solar array upgrades to the space station, as well as relocate a communications antenna for visiting spacecraft to the orbiting lab.
On Airlock for EMA pre-release, step 76 and 77 are complete.
We copy. We'll put 78 through 80 in work. Airlock, Houston. EV crew are hot mic'd on space to ground 1.
Airlock copies. EV1 and EV2, you guys are now hot mic 2 on SG1, and for EV2 on UIA, check switch depress pump power is off OFF.
Depress pump power is off, OFF.
Verify depress pump enable LEDs on.
The enable LED is on.
It's on Airlock, looking for go for step 84. Houston Airlock on 1 com check.
We have you loud and clear. How us talk?
Okay, loud and clear. Looking for go for step 84.
An excellent job this morning. You are go in step 84.
we go to transition to the crew lock depress queue card. Okay, for EV crew members, we are now in a depress queue card, crew lock depress. For EV2 on UIA, switch depress pump power to on and wait 10 seconds for complete startup.
Right, depress pump power switch is on.
And
Okay, for EV2, you can open depress pump manual isolation valve and EV crew expect alert tone.
Pump man iso valve is open.
Monitor suit P gauge less than 5.5.
DV1 copy. DV2 copy.
Anne McLean and Ayers did get the go for depressurization, so they're stepping through procedures with Onishi as well as the team here on the ground. Depressurization is underway. Pressure inside the crew lock is now at about 13 pounds per square inch. As a reminder, it does need to get all the way down to 0, or the equivalent of vacuum, before the airlock can be opened. Depressurization does take place in a two-stage fashion. The pressure inside the airlock will get down to 5 pounds per square inch, at which point they'll pause depressurization to do a system check, make sure everything is configured properly before continuing to depress down to 0 or vacuum. Once it does get to vacuum, McLean and Ayers will conduct another suit and communication check with Mission Control Houston before they put their...
Houston on 1, can we read the star block in step 2 of the cue card?
Copy that. So for both EV crew, if suit P gauge is greater than 5.5, stop depress and check MCCH.
EV1 copy, suit gauge is 5 and steady. EV2 copy and same, 5 and steady.
And again, once the suits are switched to internal battery power, that will mark the official start of today's spacewalk. Depressurization is continuing as expected inside the airlock. The pressure is now approaching 10 pounds per square inch. This view on your screen of NASA astronaut Johnny Kim on the left and Japan Aerospace Exploration astronaut Takuya Onishi, who have stepped through procedures to assist McLean and Ayers this morning to get suited up, and now working through depressurization procedures as well.
For both crew members, when crew lock at 6.0, EV crew expect alert tone.
Everyone copies. AV2 copies.
Pressure inside the crew lock now approaching 8 pounds per square inch. As a reminder, once pressure reaches 5 pounds per square inch, depressurization will pause for some communications and systems checks. And if you are just joining us this morning, NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nicole Ayers are in the process of getting Again, if you're just joining us this morning, NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nicole Ayers are stepping through procedures to get the crew lock down to vacuum. The pressure inside is about 6.7 pounds per square inch. Today's spacewalk is the 275th in support of space station maintenance, assembly, and upgrades, and the main tasks will be to install a mounting bracket ahead of the installation of an additional set of International Space Station rollout solar arrays, or IROSAs, as well as relocate a communications for visiting vehicle antenna called C2V2.
Next step is for EV2. When crew lock pressure is at 5.0, you can close depress pump manual isolation valve and EV expect alert tone.
Copy.
Pressure inside the crew lock now approaching 5 pounds per square inch. As a reminder, once 5 pounds per square inch of pressure is reached, there will be a pause in depressurization for some communications and systems checks.
For EV2, I'm not seeing the airlock key on my DCS anymore, so can you let me know when it's at 5?
We can switch data switch. We also have data, so we can tell you when to close. We are close.
Yep. See it now. It's 5.3.
Copy.
And we are seeing that the crew lock is now at 5 psi.
And ISO valve is closed.
Copy that. For both crew members on DCM, switch display switch to status until leak check question mark displayed, and hold yes for 2 seconds and follow displayed instructions for leak check.
Okay, EV1 is starting leak check. And then leak check wait.
If you see if leakage high should key message, let us know.
Okay, copy.
And Ayers and McLean are now working through some procedures to do a leak check ahead of continuing depressurization down to vacuum.
EV1 is going go tracks ready to EVA. 2, save.
Good call. So for both crew members, set O2 actuator to EVA.
EV1 is in EVA.
So just double check EV2, your auto actuator is also in EVA, right?
Standby 1, we're in work. Vapor, while you're working that, just wanted for baseline glove check. On my right index finger, I just noticed a small slice about 2 millimeters long in the RTV. Through it, I can see one single white string.
Houston Airlock, did you copy that initial baseline glove report from EV1?
And we copy talk right index finger on EV1, 2 to 4 millimeters long on the RTV, one small white string. Is there a length on that string?
No, it's kind of inside, so if I kind of open up, it's directly a straight slit. And if I open it up, I can kind of see a few strands. They're not sticking out. I can just see them kind of separated within the slice or within the cut.
Houston copies.
And he was in EVA.
Nice job, Becca. And for next step is for EV2. Stand by. Houston Airlock. Do we have go for further depress?
And talk, we have additional question for Anne for her right index finger on that string. Is it cut or loose in any way?
I'm trying to evaluate. It's I can't tell if it's cut. It does not look like as tightly woven as the other white string, if you will. I assume, are you allowed to look at HECA right now?
And Anne, we copy. We are go for you to turn on your HECA. We would like to take a look at that.
I thought so. My HECA is on. I have a green light. Let me know when you're seeing it, and I'll try to give you a good view.
And we copy. We're putting that streaming in work now.
Okay.
And as part of a baseline glove and HAP check, NASA astronaut Anne McClain did report out some wear on one of her gloves. The team on the ground has asked Anne McClain to turn on her helmet camera and are going to take a look at that to get some more information.
EV1, this is Houston with follow-up question. We're still working on the streaming. It'll be about 3 to 5 minutes. While we wait, we're looking for a more clear location of where that string is. Is it on the middle of your finger or the edge?
Okay, if I'm looking at the side of my right index finger, is where the white back of the glove goes to the RTV. It is about half a centimeter below that. If the white is on top and the RTV is on the bottom, it's about half a centimeter below that. And it is not in the very first gap in the RTV toward the fingertip. It's in the next one down. Right on the, kind of on the edge of where the finger bends.
We copy, Anne. Thank you.
Houston for Sandy, if it helps, when I bend it, it's kind of right at the corner of where the finger bends. So when I bend it, it kind of opens up, the little cut opens up.
Perfect description. Thank you. We're chatting it. We'll be back with you in a little bit. Still working on streaming.
Okay. Okay.
And again, the team here on the ground is working to configure helmet cameras to get a better look after NASA astronaut Anne McClain reported a slice in her right index finger glove. The team on the ground, again, is working to configure those cameras just to get a better look at that. And we are getting views now of NASA astronaut Anne McClain's glove. We are holding pressure at 5 pounds per square inch so the team on the ground can get a better look at that reported slice on her right index finger glove.
AV1, this is Houston. We do have streaming and we can see your glove now. If you want to move it a little closer, we can maybe get a closer view.
Okay, and I can kind of see it's right at the bend. If I'm putting it in the wrong place, just let me know which direction to move. When it's straight, it's
If you could move
close.
it away from the light, it's kind of bleaching it out, so more across your body. Perfect, and stand there.
And if you are just joining us this morning, we are holding at 5 pounds per square inch of pressure as the team here on the ground has turned on the helmet camera of NASA astronaut Anne McClain as she reported out a slice on her right index finger glove. The team is continuing to assess on the ground and get some more visual inspection of the glove.
EV1 Houston, back with you. Thank you so much for that video. Taking a look, it is a string from the turtle skin along your finger, along the seam of your finger. So we are go to continue with that being the case. Please check and keep an eye on it during your glove checks, but no additional checks needed other than keep reporting if you see anything more off nominal. When you are ready, we are go for you to turn your HECA off.
Thank you. Okay, I will turn that HECA off. Thank you. It is off.
Houston Airlock on 1, we copy that we are still close for picking up 7.
Airlock Houston, we are ready for you to resume the depress.
Copy that. So for EV2, you can open depress pump manual isolation valve and EV expect alert pump.
Depress pump manual valve is open.
And we will open emergency MTAB open on this side. For both crew members, monitor safety gauge less than 5.5. If gauge shows greater than 5.5, stop, depress, and check Houston.
V1 copy. AV2 copy.
And following visual inspection using the helmet camera on NASA astronaut Anne McClain's spacesuit, the team on the ground is comfortable with proceeding with today's spacewalk following a slice reported by NASA astronaut Anne McClain on her right glove. Depressurization has continued and is now back underway, pressure approaching 4 pounds per square inch. The team on the ground did discuss having some additional checkouts of the glove throughout the spacesuit. That is part of the normal procedure. We have glove and what is called HAP, or helmet absorption pad checks, regularly throughout the entire spacewalk. And the pressure inside the crew lock is now 3 pounds per square inch. Once we do reach vacuum, or 0 pounds per square inch.
Step is for EV2. When crew lock at 2.0 psi, you can close depress pump manual isolation valve.
Copy.
Once vacuum is reached, some additional checks will take place with the ground before these spacesuits are switched onto internal battery power, which will mark the official start of today's spacewalk. NASA astronaut Johnny Kim and JAXA astronaut Kuya Anushi are continuing to step through procedures ahead of depressurization. We're nearing 2 pounds per square inch of pressure inside the crew lock at this time.
Man, isolation valve is closed.
Copy, and the next step is for also EV2 on UIA, switch depress pump power switch power to off OFF.
Press pump power is off, OFF.
See that, and I will hand you guys over to Marcos on the ground for the Tether configuration check.
Copy. Great job today, Talk and Johnny. Thanks for getting us ready.
We'll wait for you guys. Thank you so much.
And thank you guys. That was awesome.
And in vapor, 10 seconds
start.
till I'll hand over. We'll catch you on the other side.
Hey, Marcus.
And as pressure in the crew lock approaches 1 pound per square inch, we did have a handover to our ground IV, who is NASA astronaut Marcos Barrios, who is going to be communicating with NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nicole Ayers during today's spacewalk. Again, the goal of today's spacewalk is to install a modification kit ahead of upcoming solar array upgrades, or IROSAs, as well.
For your essay, I kind of shifted off to the right, so when we go to open the hatch, we'll have to do a little another shift. Okay.
Good morning, and in vapor. The sun is shining outside the airlock right now, and we're ready to continue. So with that, we'll have you report our initial tether configuration.
And good morning, Marcos. This is EV1 Ann. I will start off and then hand off to Vapor. I will start with my right D-ring extender. I have a waist tether, locked, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. That right waist tether is connected to the EV2 safety tether. I see my right waist tether, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. That is hooked to EV2 safety tether anchor hook, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. That goes to her green reel, which is unlocked. See her yellow hook, it's attached to her green reel, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. The green hook of the green reel goes to her red reel, which is unlocked. Green hook is also unlocked. And then I'll pass that on to her for the rest of that tether or that path, and then I'll give you my left side. Okay. I've got my small red hook on my right string extender. It closed the clock, black on black. My right waist tether is on my right D-ring extender. It closed the clock, black on black. That goes to the airlock D-ring extender. It is closed the clock, black on black. And then I've got a left waist tether on my left D-ring extender. That gate is closed the clock, black on black. And the large hook of my left waist tether is on my mini workstation. So back to EV1. On my left D-ring extender, I have a waist tether, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. That hook just goes to my mini workstation. And then my safety tether, red hook, is on my left D-ring extender, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. Goes to my red reel, which is unlocked. To my red reel is my green hook, which is unlocked. From my red reel, my yellow hook is gate closed, slider lock, black on black, attached to my green reel, which is unlocked, and the anchor is on my workstation. Also have a single waist tether hooked to the airlock D-ring extender, and that's just hooked back to a handrail.
Copy, and in vapor, and that is a good configuration. So next, when the change of pressure in the crew lock is approximately 0, expect an alert tone.
One copy. Two copies.
And just as a reminder, we are going to pause for data review and a go from MCC before proceeding with hatch operations, Anne.
One copy.
And then as the airlock pressure drops below 0, there are two messages that you might get, just for your awareness. The first one is suit P high. If either of your met rates are very low, that is expected, no action. And the other is H2O is off. If the switch is in the off position for over a certain amount of time, that's also expected, no action needed on your part.
One copy. Thanks, Marcos. Two copy.
Pressure inside the crew lock now approaching 1 pound per square inch as McLean and Ayres completed some checks here on the ground to make sure that their tethers were all configured properly. Pressure now less than 1 pound per square inch inside the crew lock with NASA astronauts Anne McLean and Nicole Ayres. Once the crew lock does reach vacuum, the duo will get the go to switch their suits onto battery power, which will mark the official beginning of today's spacewalk. And this view back inside the International Space Station of JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi, who has been working with McLean and Ayres this morning to get them suited up, ready to go, and inside the crew lock, which is now at 0.86 pounds per square inch of pressure. Today's spacewalk will be the third for McLean and the first for Ayres, and the 275th spacewalk in support of space station maintenance, assembly, and upgrades. During today's spacewalk, McLean and Ayres will complete tasks to build and install a mounting bracket on the 2A power channel in preparation for the next delivery of ISS rollout solar arrays, or IROSAs, which will be delivered on a future flight. Additionally, they will relocate a communications antenna for visiting spacecraft to the International Space Station. Pressure inside the crew lock now at 0.75 pounds per square inch. Pressure inside the airlock now at 0.64 pounds per square inch. Once pressure does reach a vacuum, which is 0 pounds per square inch, the crew will be able to turn their spacesuits onto battery power, which will mark the official begin of today's spacewalk. And this view on your screen of NASA astronaut Marcos Berrios, who is the ground IV and will be interfacing with Ayers and McLean this morning.
And vapor. I know you both heard this earlier today, but we just wanted to repeat it for your situational awareness. Throughout the EVA, we're going to have 4 prolonged KU band loss of signal. And so the impact there is that we will not have Yorheka or station camera views. We will have S-band during that time, so we will be able to talk to you. That first one is coming up in about 30 minutes.
You want copies? Copy. And Marcos, how long are those expected to last?
And anywhere between 20 to 35, 40 minutes. We'll give you a heads up as to how long. The first one will be approximately 20 minutes.
Thanks.
Pressure inside the crew lock now at 0.51 pounds per square inch.
And in vapor, we're showing the crew lock pressure less than 0.5, and we have a go from MCC to proceed with hatch operations.
And I see the hatch gauge is reading 0.5.
Copy, and hatch gauge is less than 0.6 psi. You can open the EV hatch and stow it.
Copy and work. All right, great. I'm going to shimmy your way a little. Yep, you got room.
And with that, McLean and Ayers did get the go to open up the hatch, so we will see them float out here shortly. First, they'll remove the cover of the hatch, and then we'll see them come out from that point.
Try coming down your way a little more. Okay. Okay, the EV hatch is open. Hatch is in the hatch key.
Copy, and TOC, you can close the emergency MPEV.
Emergency MPEV is closed.
Copy, TOC, and then and in vapor, we're going to pause again here for another data review before continuing with the post-depress procedures.
You want copies? You copy.
And in vapor, for your situational awareness, one more message that you might receive is the SCU power avail. That is when we go to the bat on the power switch and the SCU is still connected for a certain amount of time. No action required.
One copy.
And in vapor, data review is complete. We have to go to continue. So on your DCM, we're going to stagger these switch throws, and you will go first. Take your power switch to bat. Expect a warning tone. Expect a warning tone.
Power switch to bat. And I got the warning tone. Is in bat with the warning tone.
You can take your display.
Marcos, my display is functional.
Copy and Weber, you can take your display switch to Pro.
Display functional.
A copy Vapor on the UIA power EV 1 and 2 switch to off OFF, and you will check that the 1 and 2 LEDs are off as well.
EV1 power is off. LEDs are off and volts are showing 0. Good, the H2O is off message for EV1, that's expected. And the power for EV2 is off, LEDs are off, and volts are showing 0. I also got the H2Os off and the 2P high.
Copy those messages. All right, for the both of you, you can disconnect your SCU from the DCM. You'll install the cover, and you'll stow the SCU in the pouch.
V1, SCU is removed in the pouch. My cover is back on my DCM.
Copy, Ann.
And we are awaiting hatch opening here this morning. But prior to that, NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nicole Ayers will switch their suits to battery power, which will mark the official begin of today's.
Excusez-moi, vous dites le capitaine? Non, il est devant le capitaine. Vous êtes méchant, hein? Il est devant le capitaine. Non, vous êtes le capitaine, arrêtez. Il est devant le capitaine. Non, je le reconnais. Vous êtes méchant. Non, vous êtes la presse. C'est quoi l'arme que... Aujourd'hui, c'est le jour de la fin du monde. Il paraît qu'on peut même pas acheter une baguette aujourd'hui. Il paraît qu'on pourra même pas acheter du muguet aujourd'hui. C'est ce que nous répètent les médias, détenus à 90% par des milliardaires depuis 15 jours. Les boulangeries ne peuvent pas ouvrir sous peine d'amende. C'est totalement faux. On vous ment. Aujourd'hui, les boulangeries peuvent ouvrir. Les fleuristes peuvent ouvrir. Mais ce sont les salariés de ces boulangeries. Ce sont les salariés de ces magasins de fleurs qui, eux, ne peuvent pas travailler. Mais rassurez-vous, leurs patrons, pour une fois, le peuvent. Et même en famille, s'ils le souhaitent. Il faut savoir que ces entreprises peuvent déjà ouvrir le dimanche, 6 jours sur 7 pour les boulangeries. La seule règle, c'est donner un jour de repos hebdomadaire à leurs salariés. Et je pourrais même vous faire la démonstration qu'un salarié comme la semaine commence le lundi et qu'elle termine le dimanche, si vous lui donnez son repos le lundi, eh bien vous pourrez le faire travailler 6 jours jusqu'au dimanche et il recommencera une nouvelle semaine de travail à partir du lundi et il prendra son repos le dimanche d'après. Il aura donc travaillé 12 jours d'affilée. C'est légal. Ces entreprises peuvent déjà ouvrir 364 jours par an. Et même que le 365e, elles peuvent toujours ouvrir, mais uniquement avec les employeurs. Alors ils ont été chouillés auprès du gouvernement. Vous savez,
mais depuis 2018, ils sont sur le terrain. Ils ont tout fait.
Ils ont été chouinés auprès des parlementaires de droite. Ces gens, évidemment, ont oublié parce que c'est du travail. Comment avouer
Ouais, vraiment, c'est
la tête, le corps. Tout ça pour leur dire, s'il vous plaît, essayez de mais c'est promis, ils seront volontaires. Mon œil. On parle de petites boîtes où tu vois ton patron tous les jours. Ou si tu vas pas dans le sens qu'il veut, la première chose qu'il va te dire, c'est les congés. Et ben tu les prendras quand je te dirai de les prendre. Oui, mais ils seront payés double. Il y a déjà des salariés qui travaillent le 1er mai et qui sont payés double. Ils sont dans la même emploi, ce soir. Et donc en rajoutant des exceptions aux exceptions, et ben à la fin c'est pas compliqué. Les exceptions deviennent la règle. Et ben dans ce cas il n'y a plus de règle. Et tout le monde travaillera. À commencer par tous les salariés du commerce. La vérité c'est qu'à l'heure où nous parlons, il y a déjà des magasins alimentaires qui font travailler les salariés aujourd'hui. C'est illégal, c'est interdit. Mais malgré le contrôle de l'inspection du travail, ils ne se privent pas de le faire. La loi, elle est déjà bafouée. Et là, qu'est-ce que ces gens nous disent? On sera plus hors la loi. On va vous voler légalement le seul jour férié chômé et payé de notre calendrier. Parce que c'est aussi ça le 1er mai. Il y a 11 jours fériés. On peut travailler le jour de Noël, c'est possible. On peut travailler le Nouvel An, c'est possible. Mais il y a bien un jour où on ne peut pas travailler, c'est le 1er mai. C'est le seul jour férié universel, y compris dans beaucoup de pays au niveau international. C'est ça qui va nous piquer. C'est là-dessus qu'on veut vous gruger. Et enfin, le 1er mai, ce n'est pas n'importe quel jour. C'est le jour où justement on revendique par rapport à son travail de meilleurs salaires, de meilleures conditions de travail. Et surtout, c'est sur cette revendication qu'il s'est construit historiquement la réduction de la journée de travail. Que notre existence ne soient pas subordonnés uniquement au fait de travailler. Et plus encore, de travailler non pas pour soi, mais pour quelqu'un d'autre, pour un employeur. Le 1er mai, c'est le symbole. Deuxièmement, on est passé d'une période où on pouvait travailler littéralement du lever du soleil, au coucher du soleil.
Qu'une sage-femme, une infirmière gagne moins qu'un ingénieur ou qu'un technicien supérieur de l'industrie. Et le dernier élément qui conduit à ces inégalités salariales entre femmes et hommes, c'est le temps partiel. Le temps partiel imposé, il concerne énormément les femmes. 80% des personnes à temps partiel sont des femmes. Et elles le subissent notamment dans les métiers très féminisés, les caissières, les assistantes maternelles, les aides à domicile. On leur impose un temps partiel qui les empêche de vivre et d'avoir des salaires qui leur permettent de vivre dignement. Je vous propose de chanter un slogan sur ce thème. Dans les rues parisiennes, les travailleurs chantaient. Nos salaires sont trop faibles, il faut les augmenter. Dans les rues parisiennes, les travailleurs chantaient. Nos salaires sont trop faibles, il faut les augmenter. Dans les rues parisiennes, les travailleurs chantaient. Les salaires sont trop faibles, il faut les augmenter. Dans les rues parisiennes, les travailleurs chantaient. Ils chantaient. Nos salaires sont trop faibles.